Dancing drum. In the heart of the vast African savanna, nestled between ancient baobab trees and golden grasses, there was a small village known as Dambolo. The people of Dambolo were known for their vibrant culture, their colorful attire, and most importantly, their love for music and dance. Every year, they held a grand festival where the villagers would gather around a large bonfire, celebrating life with food, laughter, and stories passed down from generations. Among the villagers was a young boy named Kofi. Kofi was not like the other boys in the village. While others were content with herding cattle or learning the ways of the elders, Kofi was obsessed with music. From the moment he could walk, Kofi was fascinated by the sound of drums. He would watch the village drummers with wide eyes as they performed during festivals, his heart thumping in rhythm with the beat. More than anything in the world, Kofi dreamed of owning his own drum and becoming the greatest drummer Dambolo had ever seen. But Kofi's family was poor. They barely had enough to eat, let alone the means to buy a drum. His father, Bodiu, would often say, "Kofi, dreams are like the wind, they come and go. Focus on what is real." But Kofi couldn't let go of his dream. Every night, he would lay in his small straw bed, imagining himself playing before the whole village, his hands moving swiftly across the drum skin, creating rhythms that made everyone dance. One day, while wandering through the outskirts of the village, Kofi came across something strange in the forest. Hidden beneath a bush, almost forgotten, was an old drum. Its leather was worn, and its carvings were faded, but to Kofi, it was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. He knelt beside it, his fingers brushing the surface of the drum. It felt warm, almost alive. Without thinking, he picked it up and began to play. The sound that came from the drum was unlike anything Kofi had ever heard. It was deep and resonant, echoing through the trees as if the forest itself was alive with the rhythm. As he played, Kofi felt an overwhelming energy surge through him. His hands moved faster, his feet began to tap, and before he knew it, he was dancing. But this was not an ordinary dance. It was as if the drum had taken control of his body, guiding his movements in perfect harmony with the beat. Suddenly, the forest around him began to change. The trees swayed in rhythm with the music, and the animals, monkeys, birds, and even lions, gathered around, moving to the beat. It was a magical moment, and Kofi couldn't believe his eyes. He played and danced until he could play no more, collapsing on the ground, out of breath but filled with joy. When he returned to the village with the drum slung over his shoulder, the elders noticed the change in him. He looked different, taller somehow, more confident. He told his family about the magical drum he had found, but his father only shook his head. "Drums do not have magic, Kofi. It is your imagination." But Kofi knew what he had experienced. Determined to show the village the drum's power, he waited for the annual festival, which was only a few days away. When the night of the celebration arrived, the villagers gathered around the bonfire, just as they had every year. The air was filled with the aroma of roasted maize and the sound of laughter. Kofi sat quietly with the old drum on his lap, waiting for the right moment. When the time came for the drummers to perform, Kofi stepped forward. The other drummers looked at him curiously. After all, he had never been part of the performance before. But with a nod from the chief, Kofi took his place. He closed his eyes and began to play. The moment his hands touched the drum, the magic returned. The beat was steady at first, a soft drum that grew louder and more powerful with each passing second. The villagers, who were used to the traditional rhythms, began to feel something different in the air. Their feet tapped unconsciously, and soon, the entire crowd was swaying. Then, something even more extraordinary happened. The bonfire in the center of the village began to flicker and dance in time with the drum. Kofi's hands moved faster, his body spinning and twirling as the drum dictated the rhythm. The entire village erupted in dance, young and old alike, their bodies moving as if enchanted. Even the elders, who had not danced in years, found themselves swept up in the magic of the moment. As the night wore on, the drum's power became more evident. It was as if the drum had brought the village to life in a way no one had ever seen before. The stars above seemed to shine brighter, and the moon glowed with a soft, silvery light. The people of Dambalo danced until the first light of dawn, their energy never fading, their spirits lifted higher than they had ever been. When the sun finally began to rise, Kofi stopped playing, his hands trembling from the intensity of the night. The villagers, exhausted but elated, gathered around him, cheering and clapping. "Kofi, you have brought us something truly special," the village chief said, his voice filled with awe. "This drum of yours is not just any drum. It is the dancing drum, a gift from the spirits." From that day forward, Kofi was no longer just the poor boy with a dream. He became the village's official drummer, respected by all for his incredible talent. The dancing drum was said to be a gift from the ancestors, a magical instrument that could unite the village through music and dance. Every year, during the festival, Kofi would play the drum, and the people of Dambalo would dance until the first light of dawn, their hearts filled with joy and their spirits connected to the rhythm of the land. And so, the legend of the dancing drum lived on, passed down from generation to generation, a story of a boy who dared to dream and a drum that brought magic to life.